He put up a hand and stopped the band. The crowd at the Houston Astrodome went quiet. In the front row, a boy's cane rested across his knees. Elvis stepped down, bent low, and guided the child's hands to his face. If you've ever witnessed kindness that stopped a room, you'll want to hear this. Stick with me, this night wasn't just a concert. It was a lesson the world remembers. The house lights drop, and the Astrodome erupts. It's a wall of sound. Cheers, screams, the low rumble of stomping boots on concrete. The smell of buttered popcorn drifts through the air, mixed with perfume and cigarette smoke. From the tunnel a figure emerges, white jumpsuit, rhinestones throwing sharp flashes with every step. Elvis Presley walks to center stage, guitar slung across his chest. The opening chords thunder from the speakers, and the first verse draws a tidal wave of applause. Spotlights sweep the stands. Thousands of faces glow pale in the beams. Camera flashes pop like tiny fireworks. Down front, just behind the barricade, a boy, maybe 9 or 10, sits perfectly still. A slender white cane rests across his knees. His mother's hand rests lightly on his shoulder. He doesn't react to the blinding lights or the spectacle above him. Instead, his head tilts slightly, as if pinpointing the source of each note. Some in the crowd later recalled a cardboard sign in his lap, 4 words in block letters. "I can't see you, but I can hear you." Halfway through the song, Elvis turns toward stage left. His eyes catch the sign. For a fraction of a beat, his voice falters. The band plays on, unaware. A small crease forms between his eyebrows. He takes a half step toward the boy's side of the stage. A spotlight follows him, slicing through a cloud of dust that floats above the crowd. He holds the microphone away from his mouth. One more glance at the boy, then, his foot hovers at the stage's edge. The horns blare, the drums hit, but Elvis isn't singing. He's moving forward, down toward the rail. The band keeps playing without him. The music falters. Elvis raises one hand, palm out. The lead guitar trails off first, then the horns, then the drums. The sudden silence rolls over the Astrodome like a wave hitting shore. A microphone squeals, high and sharp, then dies. Thousands of people shift in their seats. You can hear the rustle of programs, the clink of a dropped soda cup. Ushers glance at each other. Is this part of the show? At the barricade, the boy sits frozen. His mother's hand tightens on his shoulder. Elvis steps down from the stage. His boots hit the concrete with a heavy thud. Security moves in, but he waves them back. He's moving with purpose, eyes locked on one person. He crouches in front of the boy. The bright stage lights spill over them both, throwing the boy's face into sharp relief. From around his neck, Elvis pulls a white scarf, the kind he tosses to screaming fans mid-show. Instead of flinging it, he drapes it gently around the boy's shoulders. The fringe brushes against the boy's hand. The boy's fingers search the fabric, feeling the smoothness, the tiny ridges in the stitching. A faint smile tugs at the corner of his mouth. "You like music, son." Elvis's voice is low, calm. The microphone catches it just enough for the crowd to hear. The boy nods, slow. His free hand rests on the scarf, as though anchoring himself to the moment. Elvis glances up at the mother. She nods once, lips pressed tight. Then, without warning, he takes the boy's hands in his own and lifts them. First, the fingertips touch warm skin at his temple, a sheen of sweat from the stage lights. Then, the boy's hands trace downward, over the straight line of his nose, the curve of his jaw, the bristle of sideburns. Every few inches, the boy pauses, as if capturing the image in his mind. The crowd watches without a single shout. Cameras flash, but even the clicks feel distant. A murmur ripples through the first few rows, people nudging each other, realizing what's happening. Elvis lets go only to guide the boy's hands across the collar of his jumpsuit, the hard edges of the rhinestones catching against his fingers. When the boy's hands drop back into his lap, he exhales, just once, and smiles again. wider this time. Elvis leans in, close enough that his lips nearly touch the boy's ear. The crowd sees it, but cannot hear the words. The mother's eyes widen. Her free hand comes to her mouth, and her shoulders shake. The boy nods, once firmly. They stay like that for a moment. The world's biggest star and one child, framed in the glare of the spotlight, as if the rest of the stadium has vanished. Then Elvis straightens, takes a step back, and looks toward the stage. The band waits for a cue, but instead, Elvis reaches down and takes the boy's hand again. Elvis doesn't let go of the boy's hand. Instead, he gives it a gentle tug, guiding him away from the barricade. The boy rises, unsteady for a moment, until Elvis steadies him with a hand at his back. The crowd leans forward as they step toward the ramp. The boy's white cane stays behind with his mother. His guide now is the sound of boots on metal, and the warmth of a steady grip. On stage, the band is frozen, watching. Elvis leads the boy to the center microphone. Under the harsh white spotlight, the jumpsuit glitters like broken glass scattered across snow. Elvis leans toward the mic. "We're gonna do this one together," he says, voice low but The words echo across the dome, picked up by the PA system. The audience erupts. Cheers, whistles, applause, but Elvis raises a hand again, calming them. "Let's keep it soft," he says with a smile. "This one's for him." James Burton's guitar slips into the opening chords of Love Me Tender. The notes are slow, deliberate, hanging in the air, like they know they're carrying something fragile. Elvis starts the first line alone, deep and smooth. The boy tilts his head, listening, almost tasting each word as it leaves the air. On the second verse, Elvis nudges him gently toward the microphone. At first only a hum, soft, tentative. The boy is finding the pitch, letting his voice adjust to the cavernous echo of the arena. Elvis leans closer, singing alongside him, their voices blending in a way the microphones barely separate. Down in the front rows, couples link arms. One man wraps his coat around his wife's shoulders. A woman in the third row wipes her eye. The usual concert energy, screaming, swaying, is replaced with stillness. By the final verse, Elvis pulls back, letting the boy's voice carry the line alone. "And I always." The words are small, almost swallowed by the massive space, but the acoustics catch them, lifting the sound into the upper decks. For a heartbeat, you can hear nothing else. Then the applause hits, a roar that feels like it might lift the roof off the Astrodome. Flashbulbs burst in rapid fire, but Elvis doesn't turn to the crowd. He keeps his eyes on the boy, smiling as if they're the only two people in the building. The boy's shoulders rise and fall with a deep breath. He turns toward the sound of the cheering, his smile now unguarded, stretching wide. Elvis kneels beside him, saying something lost under the applause. The boy laughs, a quick, surprised laugh that makes the first few rows join in. The band holds their final note, waiting for direction. Elvis nods to them, and the sound fades. He pats the boy on the back, guiding him toward the stage edge where his mother waits. As they reach the steps, Elvis pauses, looking down at the boy like he's not done yet. The applause is still rolling when Elvis stops at the bottom of the step. He crouches beside the boy again, one knee on the floor, the other boot planted firm. "Anytime I'm in Texas," Elvis says, voice steady but warm, "you got a seat right here." He taps the metal rail of the front row for emphasis. The boy nods. His mother is already wiping at her cheeks, mascara smudging under her eyes. She mouths, "Thank you." Elvis smiles and straightens. Security steps in to help the boy back to his seat, guiding him by the elbow. The white scarf is still looped around his neck, now damp at the edges from the heat of the lights. The show resumes. Drums kick in, horns blare, and Elvis dives into an upbeat number. But something has shifted. His moves are looser, his grin more frequent. Between songs he glances toward the front row. Halfway through Burning Love, he walks to the far edge of the stage, points toward the boy, and winks. The gesture isn't caught by most of the crowd, but the first few rows see it, and the boy's mother presses her hand to her chest. By the finale, Elvis is drenched in sweat, hair plastered to his forehead. He takes a long bow, throws 3 scarves into the crowd, and waves toward the upper decks. Then as he turns to leave, something pulls him back. Instead of heading straight for the tunnel, he veers toward stage right, toward the boy's seat. Security parts just enough for him to slip through. He crouches one last time, reaching into his pocket. From behind his tinted lenses, he removes his sunglasses, the iconic aviator pair he's worn all night. Carefully, he folds them and presses them into the boy's hands. The boy's fingers explore the smooth metal arms, the curve of the lenses, the tiny screws at the hinges. His smile deepens as he turns the gift over in his palms, as if memorizing every inch. Elvis says something the microphones don't catch. The boy's head tilts toward the voice. Then he nods once, a quick pat on the shoulder, and Elvis is gone, disappearing into the shadows of the tunnel. The lights come up. People gather their coats, still buzzing about the moment. Down in the front row, the boy sits with the scarf around his neck, the sunglasses resting in his lap, his hands folded over them, like they're made of gold. 1 week later, the family's doorbell rings. A package waits on the porch. No return address, just a careful block letter label, "For you." The cardboard box is light, no bigger than a school backpack. The boy's mother carries it to the kitchen table, setting it down gently, as though whatever's inside might break. There's no return address, only a white label, the letters printed in thick black marker. "For you." The boy runs his fingers over the lettering, tracing each one slowly. He smiles at the raised edges of the ink. His mother slides a butter knife under the tape. The cardboard gives with a soft tear. She folds back the flaps. Inside, cradled in brown packing paper, is a small guitar. The body is a deep sunburst finish, smooth and cool to the touch. Across the lower bout, written in silver marker, are the words, "You'll always have a seat in the front row." Elvis. The boy freezes. His fingers hover over the signature. He doesn't press down right away, as if touching it might erase it. Finally, he lets his fingertips trace the metallic ink, feeling the ridges where the marker pressed into the wood. He grins, wide and unrestrained. Beneath the guitar, a folded note rests on the packing paper. It's short, just 1 sentence in the same blocky handwriting. "Play it if you want, or don't. Just know it's yours." His mother reads it aloud, her voice trembling halfway through. The boy cradles the guitar against his chest. It's too big for him now, but he rocks it gently, his cheek pressed to the strings. According to family friends, he never played it, not once. He never hung it on a wall or put it in a case. It stayed in his room, always within reach, leaning against the side of his bed. Over the years, the scarf faded from white to cream. The sunglasses grew a few scratches, but the guitar stayed untouched, exactly as it arrived that day. His mother would tell reporters years later, "That was the first time I saw my son smile without holding back." She kept the cardboard box too, flattened and stored in a closet. Every so often, she'd pull it out, running her fingers over the faded "For You" label, remembering the night in Houston, when 18,000 people went silent for one small boy. The story spread quietly among Elvis fans, retold at fan club meetings, passed down like a treasured family story. Some say Elvis mentioned that night to friends, calling it the best part of the whole tour. In grainy footage from 1976, the moment lives on: a white suit, a boy's hand on his face, and an arena holding its breath. The footage is old now, colors faded, edges blurred, but the image is clear enough. Elvis Presley, in a white jumpsuit, kneeling in the spotlight, a young boy's hands exploring the lines of his face, an arena frozen in perfect stillness. It's easy to forget, decades later, just how big Elvis was in the mid-1970s. Stadiums sold out in hours. Security details mapped every step he took. His life was a blur of flashing bulbs, screaming fans, and relentless touring. And yet, in that instant, none of it mattered. He had 18,000 people waiting for him to sing, the band ready to roll into the next number, cameras rolling for television special. But Elvis Presley, the man, not the myth, stopped it all for one child in the front row. That night, the boy didn't see the glitter of rhinestones or the arc of the spotlight.
He didn't watch the crowd rise to its feet, but he felt every moment, the warmth of a stranger's hand, the rhythm of a voice that filled the air around him, the curve of a jawline he'd only ever heard about, and maybe that's why it hit people so hard, because here was a performer who had everything to gain by staying in the spotlight, and chose to share it instead. Witnesses say, you could feel the shift in the room. The usual electricity of an Elvis show turned into something else entirely, a quiet reverence, as if everyone understood they were watching something they'd talk about for the rest of their lives. After the concert, word of the moment spread. Some told it as a story about kindness, others called it proof that fame hadn't erased the human being underneath the rhinestones. In fan magazines, the story became part of Elvis' lore. The scarf, the sunglasses, the guitar, each detail shared and reshared, until it became a touchstone for what people wanted to believe about him. For the boy and his family, it wasn't about folklore, it was about the night. A stranger saw them in a crowd of thousands, and made them feel like the only ones in the world. The boy grew up, according to people who knew him. He never parted with any of the gifts. The guitar stayed by his bed, until the day he died. The scarf and sunglasses were kept close, worn only on rare occasions, almost like armor. When asked why he never played the guitar, he once said, it was never about the music, it was about him taking the time, and that's the point, isn't it? Fame fades, records get broken, styles change, but moments like that, a pause in the noise, a hand reaching out, they outlive everything. Even now, nearly half a century later, fans still share the grainy footage. You can hear the hum of the crowd before the music stops. You can see Elvis bend down, guiding the boy's hands to his face, and you can feel the silence of a stadium holding its breath. It's not a moment measured in notes or ticket sales. It's measured in something harder to define, the way it lingers. And maybe that's why in the middle of one of the loudest shows of his career, Elvis Presley chose to be silent. Greatness isn't just about what you give on stage, it's about what you give when the spotlight could be yours, and you hand it to someone else. If this moved you, share it with someone who believes kindness can stop a room. What's the most unforgettable act of kindness you've ever witnessed?